In this video, what I want to do is to demonstrate the get item method of the local storage object. So you can see we have a form right here that's taking some text input across a variety of text input boxes or input type text boxes with IDs, fname, lname, email, and address. We also have two button type inputs, submit form and clear form, which are running functions submit and clear. On running the submit function, we get all of the tags that have the name input and storing it in a node collection called inputs, and then we loop through that inputs node collection, and for every input type other than button, we are setting in the local storage object a key value pair, the key being the ID of that input tag and the value corresponding to that key being the value of that a user types in that input text type box. So how does this actually work? Well, we can take a look at it. Now here, we type in some input. So this is a form. You have submit form and clear forms. Submit the form. This is the console log. Go to the application. We take a look at the local storage object, and we have all of these local storage elements, keys corresponding to the IDs, values corresponding to that, right? That was typed in. So the question is, how do we go about getting these when this page is loaded once again? And we can do that. And so one of the things that we're going to do is we're going to modify the body. And so on the loading of the body of this page, what we're going to do is we are going to run a function again called check, right? And what this function is going to do is it's going to check if there's anything in local storage, and if there is anything in local storage, we access it, we get the key, and if there is an element on that page that has that key, for that key, we load the specific value that we have in the local storage object, right? So I'm going to be running a function called check. So our function is going to be called check. Okay, now one of the things I wanted to do was to let the user know that they have accessed this form previously and there's data already present. So I'm just going to have a variable called .text, and within some B tags, just some bold tags, I'm going to say you have accessed this form previously. I'm just going to close the B down here instead of up there. And if I wanted, I could just throw a BR in there. Okay. And what I can do is I can, if y'all remember, I have a message div over here. So what I can do is I can change the inner HTML of that div. So Now, the thing is that I only want to do this when there is in fact something local storage. So in fact what I've got to do is I've got to surround this in an if. And so I'm going to check if the length of local storage is in fact greater than 0. So if there is anything in there, then only do we actually want to populate then only do we want to start populating that message div. In fact, only if there is anything in there do we even want to actually go through the local storage object. So we can loop through the local storage object again because there are multiple elements in there, right? And so again, I equal to 0, I less than the local storage dot length I plus plus. Now what we want to do is we want to actually get the keys. We want to get the first key, and then we want to get the second key, and we want to get the third key. And as we get those keys, we actually want to get the values associated with that keys, right? And so to get the keys themselves, we refer to the local storage. We refer to the local storage object, use the key method to get the key at a certain index location, to get the key at location I. So in this case, in the loop, you'd get the 0, the first, then second, then third, so on and so forth. And then what we do is we get the value of value associated with that key. So the local storage value, for instance, would be the local storage object, and you use the get item method. So we want the get item, we want the value associated with that key that we've just got at position 0, right? So now we have the key and the local storage value, right? And what we want to do is we want to, in our document, right? See, each of these have the ID, which is the key, right? And so what we want to do is we want to get the element that has the same ID as the key and set the value of that element to the value that we've just gotten from local storage, right? And so what we can do is we can say document dot get element by ID, and the ID that we have is basically corresponding to our keys. And what we want to do is we want to set the value of that to the value that we've just gotten from our local storage object, right? And so all of this is only going to happen if the length of the local storage object is greater than 0, right? And this happens when the function check is run when the body is loaded, right? And so let's see in fact if this works. So I'm just gonna close this down, right? And let's open up this once again. And so it says, like as we wanted it to, that we have accessed this form previously. Would you like to change this information, right? And so it has populated first name, last name, email address, and address from the local storage object, which has these values. Right? And so we can go ahead and change one of them, right? Resulting in the change of fname in the form, right? And so this is where this is how you would go about using get item and working with the local storage object, and in this case some forms, and kind of manipulating the HTML content through data that is present in the local storage object.